Good day. Here I am, the eighth day of fifth month. 13, that's Big Mama number, right? 2024. This is a share for the people, for the clan mothers on the land here, United States of America. I'm a rock to Mary, however you like to call it. I want to share some things with you. Let me see. I've been hearing the invites of clan mothers around the lands to share their gifts, to share their talents, to share their experiences. I will say this, when it comes to leadership and guidance, if you wait until you are perfect at whatever it is that you do or perfect at life, then either one or two things are going to happen. One is you're never going to start to share, or two, you're going to move forward in a state of delusion and narcissism, right? Why would I say such a thing? The reason is because we can do things in excellence. We can do things in excellence, but knowing that it might not be perfect what we do. And if you're saying to yourself, okay, now I'm perfect at this, and now I'm going to share with the world my perfection, then you're delusional, because we're human. And we can know things like the back of our hand and still have room for improvement, or still, as we learn, we become more proficient. We increase our level of doing something faster, or doing it faster, better, or connecting with people more as we do things, whatever have you. All that to say that sometimes you can tell that they think they're perfect, because if you ever share something with them that would take whatever they're doing from like a 9.5 to like a 10, or it would help them to release some of their stress and anxiety as they do their thing. If you share with them, instead of them looking at what you have to say with a different perspective, they'll bite back at you and act like you're putting them down. So these are people who have very surface images of themselves, which is narcissism, right? We look at our image rather than who we really are. So I'm sharing with you something on my path to redemption, something that we need here at the world, really, but a lot of us who have been miscategorized as African American, been miscategorized as Black, been miscategorized as U.S. citizens, we have a responsibility to come into order and transition from one phase into another. Is a challenging thing. It's okay, but it's growth. And with all things, when you gain something, you also lose something else. So the 30th of March, 2023, that was a monumental announcement that the Pope made for the repudiation of the doctrine of discovery. So many of us gained something. We gained a tool that we can refer to when it comes to commerce, to say, here it is in writing, here it is understood in commercial law and international law, that the lands have been given back to the original indigenous peoples. And that's really around the world, but you know that at United States of America, that the economy, the world economy, is really dependent a lot on what goes on in the Americas, in North America particularly. And the banking system is actually dependent on the charters, and the charters are connected to the land, and the people are connected to the land. So it's quite a complex situation. And those who have been performing very well in various roles, such as, a banker running a highly successful bank, or a business owner running a business that, everything is connected to the economy too. The way we do things now is we're not trading wampum beads, right? We're not even straight our energy. All right, here we go. I'm back. So we use the U.S. I guess I'm not supposed to talk about that. The lawful dollar or either the floating rate note. So there's some things that are going on that I don't think will ever happen again. Like, for one, there are people, I know it has happened to my loved one, where a large chunk of funds were taken out of the account without our permission. And so I'm gaining a skill set on how to correct these things, right? And how to come into honor. So I just want to share with you my path and journey. And I've heard that people are asking questions like, people are getting foreclosed upon and that sort of thing, and don't know which way to go. Not really having the full faith and trust of to attorney sometimes, or not wanting to go into the jurisdiction of some of the state programs that are designed to help the residents, because many of us who are original and indigenous to the lands, we are wanting to be in our own jurisdiction. So that is part of with you today, me as a woman and non-indigenous land, and wanting to settle the accounts that are in the straw name, the legacy that needs to be settled, right? Some people want their credits, and a proper accounting is important, and that is something that I like order, and I want to contribute what I can as far as my studies. And so I will say there's some court cases in the name of the straw. So my mother gave me the name Kenya Louise Maddox, and then it was turned into Enslig is a straw name, a juristic person. So I'm not my name, right? The name might be written on birth certificate. That would be the birth certificate at whatever corporate state to which you were born. And so it's our responsibility, once we come into the knowledge that we are not our names, right? It's our responsibility to correct that. And for some of us who have been pretty much under attack when it comes to our finances and our job situations through the alphabet agency programs, right? We have a hard time, and people who are targeted, all right, have a hard time maintaining a steady job job. There are different things that attack your finances. They attack every area of your life. If you go to Targeted Justice, you can learn about that. And so part of what that happened is this, and I'm gonna go look up your name, do a court case search for whatever state that you last resident. Do a court case search. You can do it by name or by number if you already know if there's some court cases that you are responsible to navigate through. So I did it by my name, and I found some by the name, right? Name that I have control over. That is also, there's a power of attorney on that by the state as well, except for I'm coming out of that. I'm putting things on the record to come out of that. So share this with people too who are experiencing, well, first of all, if you know that they are walking around not accepting the right labels in commerce, and that they want to come into honor and learn how to control the estate and then help control the vast estate. Because I get this impression that people think that moving resources around is governing, So to put a lien on a business that is not operating in, if they're operating in bankruptcy, they're not operating honorably. They're using your estate without your permission. But so to put a lien on a business or to control resources, whether it be gold, silver, or fiat or whatever, that's not governing. That's not governing. First government starts to be able to self-govern. So you want to be able to say that you have the skills to. All right. Now, if you operate a vast estate, right? And if I cannot share with you what I've done, I only give general things with no details, and I'm not really that credible. I wouldn't want you to, I've heard this be said, and I know it's true. You don't just follow someone just because they said, because they could be really misled, and then you are following down a path that is unhealthy and that could be dangerous. So in this case, I wouldn't want you to just follow what I say just because. And it's a lot of people, they speak confidently. Information, but they cannot tell you their specific process of how do they how do they eat? How do they pay if they have a mortgage, or if they maybe they did have a mortgage and they discharged and offset it. Maybe they claimed a property. Maybe they inherited a property. However, how are their living needs being taken care of in this economy that is built off of FRN, right? Because that's what I've noticed. And some people are not at liberty to tell you all of what they do and how they do it. And that's okay, but you have to then study for yourself. You cannot have this idea that there's no way to do it or you can't get through it. You can. You have it in transition and change. Then you have to reach out for the answer. So I did a court case search on in the state where I am. I'm not at a state, and I found about 6 cases. Now, I know that they're not all based in truth, but in the court system, it's okay that they're not based in truth according to their policies and processes. Because court, just like Venus and Serena played tennis court a game, it's not the case that truth has to be at the foundation of it for that corporate entity. Now, for me as an Indigenous woman, yes, truth is the foundation, it's the guiding light. So Mama Rarebird, she has a nation state that she has made a pure trust declaration, and she's giving birth certificates now. She's also showing you how to create your own birth certificates, which that is correct and accurate thing to do, because it's an entity that's being birthed different from a man or woman being born, or a man child or woman child being born. Okay, they're different. One is lawful and one is a legal process, and we do have both. And even if you think about the word republic, comes from like re over and over, public. The word public is PUBL, or PUB is the first syllable, pub, and that's the same as you coming out of your mother, or first what the seed from your father being planted into the mother. Those are PUB, those areas, PUB. Then you are in your mother's womb, and you come from her private womb into the PUB through the cubic area into the public, right? And well, I would say the jurisdictions of the constitutional republics, and then you have the corporate states. So all of any kind of court case, any kind of foreclosure, any kind of you broke a statute or a code or a regulation, that is many times going to be repugnant. It's going to be against what is the safety and the happiness of the people. And it's in addition to that Constitution that you probably may not have read. Because when you read the Constitution, you'll have a better understanding of why you're going through different changes, because the system that we're in is coming back to truth. Like Kat said at the beginning of the year, this is a year of truth. Truth will be told. So the systems that are not based in truth are not going to stand. And we have the responsibility, the ones, wherever you're from, you're going to have a better knowledge of what it is that's needed to write your systems in peace and love and in order than anyone else. That's just how it goes. That's part of the universal laws. So the nation state that I am is upon my right as an Indigenous woman. It's not a state of a state. Okay, it's on the de jure, the land and soil jurisdiction, and we already know that was the year of the America representatives and the Sultan of Morocco, and in it that was created and explaining jurisdiction and even helping us have the right mindset about whether or not we use an attorney or not. Sometimes not having to do like with your own rights per se, but there are times when attorneys are put on you, because if you fully knew how to get out the situation and how to apply the law, then maybe you would not need the or you even be able to properly use an attorney that represents the dead. They're representing the dead, because the living cannot just make a general appearance in these court processes. So they cannot hear you. Now, if you know how to stand, then you won't have to resort to that. But this is transition. This is a transitional time. So let's not act like it's easy. Let's not oversimplify it. And details do matter, because from what I'm learning, there's no reason that anyone should ever get pulled out of the car, whether even if the police are not trained properly, like, then we need to be working on making sure that they're actually not police, they're policy enforcers. They're hired to enforce the codes so they can bring in finance for the crown, because all of the things that they do, it ties back into the bar, and that ties into the that goes back to the British crown. Okay, so let's not look at them as our first line of defense, because we are our first line of defense, our right thinking, our right words, and our right deeds to maintain peace. Okay, so with that being said, let me share. I did a search. The first, let's see here. I have responsibility for settling 6 trust. I will share with you those things. The order that I'm doing this is not, in my opinion, the best order, right? Because so I'm going to approach situations, based on my knowledge. So first I have to get knowledge, which is reading, the Declaration of Independence, which is reading the various treaties, the postal treaties, um, which is reading state at which you were born, the republic where you were born. So, with that being said, also honoring the principles of my aunt, the idea that what's happening in this, I say certain words and I get glitches. So what's happening in BA and KING system. Now tomorrow supposed to go use or silverback funds. Now, part of what's happening is the assets are being moved around. So just because someone takes it and takes it, like that's not honorable. Listening to some of the things that historically said, the challenge is preparing for people, things, entities from a realm of planet. I'm saying if we're taking like as much gold as possible, have somewhere you cannot, and you can't even maintain society, is not. Since is that your neighbors is not on your neighbor, right? If you owe your neighbor, now you have to avoid your neighbor because I got to pay my money back. I don't have it. So this is why some of us are experiencing problems, because we're not fully at higher levels. They're not fully equipped on how to do this. And some people will. Okay, I think that they're responsible to learn. You can't take the fruits of being here in the Americas and then just go away with the prize and not make sure everything is balanced out. And so cleave or leave would be correct. And cleaving is just much more pleasant than leaving. Cleave or leave is what makes sense, is what I'm saying. And I say peace and love. I encourage us to listen to each other and move through. For the clan mothers who people manage their state, you want to put it on the who you are. Had a good on high frequency radio on YouTube. He had a good presentation on how to handle that in public. That is a little, that's not enough for where I am in this process. I need to do things on the private side. So the first thing that I'm sharing that I did was I did go to enforcetheconstitution.org website that Consul Lamont Maurice, he left some good examples on what to do in various situations, foreclosures. So people who normally wouldn't even be in that situation looking at foreclosure are because of the things that we don't really have control that are happening in the desired sound budget. Okay. So foreclosures, writ, warrantos, trust, default judgment, and a notice of default. Right? These go, and you think about foreclosure and you think about property. Some of the issues that you might have will go to property. Your inzelig is property. Okay. So if you look at that process that he shares there, go over that multiple times and put that into action. You're a Moorish American, and that way, if that is your nationality, and that is going to be extremely helpful to you. Eventually, I would like to team up with other original indigenous peoples here in the Maryland area so we can help each other study, because if you're studying with someone who's been studying 3-4 years, then you're just going to move through everything quicker. And also, I've benefited from what like Tajiri Bay has shared. These things, yes, I'm putting this in place for the first time. But like I said, I'm not going to wait until this is perfect before I share with people, because I do feel it's my responsibility to come together and to claim the land. Because if you don't claim it, it's going to be considered as if you've abandoned your estate. So a lot of you are out there talking about some reparations or something like that. You come from a place of ignorance. And so I'm going to take that back, because ignorance is when you're given information and you choose not to pay it. That's ignorance. When you lack knowledge on something, that's more so what people are experiencing with reparations. They lack knowledge because it makes no sense. If you understood the economy, you understand safety, happiness, civics, land rights, status, standing. When you know these things, you know that reparations makes no sense. You know that if you are a man or a woman, then what are you going to do for the fictitious footnote? What can you do with that? These are two different jurisdictions. You can't be a slave and then ask for, you're not entitled to own anything. You're not entitled to have anything if you are in a bondage situation. And today we still have contracts. All right. Okay. Again, contracts that are keeping us in, I guess I have to spell BONDAGE. So what I'm going to share is one of four, it's probably about 5 documents or 5 documents that I'll put on the private side, the papers on the private side, documents on the public side. And I am going to also enter things in the record, but what I'm sharing now, I will put in the mail, USPS certified mail. And then I will also create other paper documents that'll go into the file, which is the public. Okay, that venue is a public venue. And I will challenge and make some statements that I'm not going to explain or make on the private side because it's not the issue. And so we'll start off with this. So if I see someone using my trade name, and whether it's right or not right, first of all, I am not my name. So, and they're using it without my permission. Now that I'm awake, I didn't know that. So they didn't need my permission for the fact that I've been letting the state use my name for a long time. But now I'm recognizing, hey, that's my responsibility to take and control that. So let me share this that I created. Now, part of what I'm doing is I looked up because there's some cases in the list name. I learned if I can all those, and I probably can. Okay, I did not see anything in law where it says that I sure can do that. So what I've done is created a writ mandamus. I created the writ mandamus because I did research and I read that at this state, Maryland, that the writ quo warranto is not recognized. Now, I'm gonna say this: a writ mandamus or a writ quo warranto. I'd be surprised if they actually recognize that, if they respond to that, because of the jurisdiction that I'm coming from, the court, or I would say the assembly, the tribal assembly from which I am rendering my judgments, is a higher jurisdiction. Original indigenous jurisdiction is the highest jurisdiction. So part of what I'm doing is an averment of jurisdiction. I'm declaring the jurisdiction. And that's my responsibility to do. So I don't imagine they'll respond to it, but either way, let's see. I know that when you're talking to someone in, let's say in real life, and you know that this person and you, like your first language is English, and you're speaking with someone and their first language, let's just say it's Spanish, and you don't know any Spanish, right? It is rude and unproductive, and they don't know any English, right? It's rude and unproductive to keep talking to them over and over and over, like in English, and talking louder and talking slower, and then, but y'all not speaking the same language. That is so rude to do that, and ineffective, unproductive. So it's my inner knowing that when it comes to this system, if I'm in the private and I want to communicate something to someone who's operating in the public, I would be ineffective to just communicate in a way that I think is fine, that is not in line with how they're used to receiving information and communicating. And just because that I communicate with them in a way that they understand and they, can respond to, it does not necessarily mean that I am then submitting to all the rules and all the consequences that might come along with being in their jurisdiction. It doesn't mean that. You have to qualify what you're saying and what jurisdiction you're coming from. So that is why I decided to create a writ mandamus / a writ quo warranto, because I read about the treatment of writ quo warrantos in Maryland historically. And I included that in my writ mandamus as to why I did both. And so I want the concepts to be really, really clear for people who don't know that much about law. Now, when I say like writ quo warranto, writ mandamus, look up RV Bay, where you get a really good education for not much money, plenty of time. All right, plenty of time. That you'll be studying, but let's see here. I'm gonna pull up this document for you. Really? Okay, give me a moment. I like the document anyway. Okay. Here we go. Oh, this is a Word document. I should have put it in a PDF form for you. Okay, because in the PDF form, and before I mail this out, I'll correct this. So this side of the paper, on the left side of the paper, or if you're looking at the paper on your left, is gonna usually be more so, not always is this the case, but it's gonna be more so the debtor side of the paper. On the right side is going to be the creditor side of the paper. Just pay attention to that to see when you're creating documents, when you're filling out other people's quote unquote forms, which I don't do, or sometimes if I have to fill out a form for whatever reason, I'll put the brackets around it or I'll alter it, because I do want to make sure that I'm not putting myself in someone's jurisdiction. But so when you are presented with forms, you're being offered something. So if you just take it as is and don't make it what you need it to be, then you might be contracting in a way that's not helpful to yourself, right? So I'm going to open this up on my other computer as well so I can read it there. So what's happening here is a signal is a sign in commerce, right? And this is the red flag with the green star. Like, our assets are being cared for by those other Moroccan Empire empresses. Someone is a fiduciary is there until you left. So just know that. All right. And when it comes to self-name, it's more than just on my assets, right? It's very important. It's very important. It's also our responsibility to bring protection or physically the minute going on, and there's are not like happening lets us know that the work's done. We are to walk on water. We are to govern ourselves and have dominion um, over our estate, over our affairs. And if we're wealthy, then why are we trim? It's a banner, a banner, because each they have their own flag, and they're a continent. Okay. Website, I'm saying, this next flag with the vertical stripes is the piece. And it's representing the fact that I refer to republic and the rules of the republic when necessary. So the public servants in check have ability to the Constitution. This is where the Constitution's flag represents the Constitution of various states before 1930. All right. I guess I'm not supposed to talk about the Constitution. Every state Constitution. Okay. So with that said, though, the protection that I'm claiming is that in the original indigenous jurisdiction, which I am averring. I will refer to the Maryland Republic Constitution as well, because that is the language that the sheriff speaks. That is what the sheriff has taken an oath to. And the Republic is under the Moroccan Empire. That's evidenced by the fact that it was the British Moor, King George, who was responsible for approving I guess they don't want me to tell the truth. That's okay. It's okay. I'm going to tell as much as I can. Okay, so that's just some history. But so what needs to happen now so that everyone can be happy? I want to be happy. I want to be happy. This is what peace is. This is what my eye is. It's equity, it's balance, it's order, it's love. It's all those things. There are 42 principles. Okay, and for the nation state, that is what I'm putting forth as our constitution, which are the 42 mind the 7 universal laws, and then recognizing the republic constitutions at each of the republic areas, and recognizing there is a corporate jurisdiction that is for, when I mean as in like an interaction between the jurisdictions. I don't mean as in authority over. I mean as far as the various affairs that happen between the republics, those lines that have already been established in the corporate fictitious entity. They're necessary for order and for peace and for economic stability. Okay, so with that being said, the order that I will put forth the claims is this: is first, I will, and I have put some things in the record, but not as much as I should, and it wasn't as efficient as it could. I did the best I could have. Okay, so, and I will share more quickly. It'll be that slow with this. The first thing I'll do is warrant to what authority are on the land. You hear WAR in war rants, but I am just asking you, I'm challenging you to say, show me the documentation that proves that you have the proper that you have jurisdiction over my estate, over my loved one's estate, right? Show that first before we talk about any matter. We're gonna first talk about your authority, okay? And then we do some other things, but that is the law. Is because my standing is as a people, as an original indigenous people. That's my standing. And then my status is a national, as a Moorish American national. That's the status of my natural person, is appropriate to use in commerce in this case. And then also back again, the original indigenous jurisdiction as an original indigenous people. So we can belong to people and we can belong to nations as a status. Okay. So let's go back here. I'm going to present this. hopefully this will. I have to edit another. I want you to get this. Okay, so the original indigenous peoples and specifically Maryland Republic. Okay, I say on a rock to marry. Indigenous peoples justice tribal and republic. Okay, let me try again to present our time. Whoever wants this is really going to work hard to get this. We're going to have it. Here before I show it because then a few minutes of goodness. I want to make this under an hour. And I'm having a little difficulty, but I'm still going to share this with you and continue to put on the record. All right. So, America, I'm a rock to marry his people's it's the land as I'm a rock, you know,